righty.
All right.
I'm here today out of curiosity. A lot of people know exactly why they're here, and judging from your shirt, you're like one of those people. Tell us what's going on here today.
Well, I am one of the peacekeepers of today's event, and so we want to make sure that people are safe, able to say their feelings among peace. And so we've had lots of folks with differing ideas, and we're here to keep the peace.
Okay. What's the common trend? What's the common idea? Most people gather because they have something in common. What do they have in common?
The commonness here is that this is an organic movement of people with varying ideas, but the commonality is that we're about the needs of people and not the greed of corporations. And it starts at that one point, and it spans into everything else, from war to pollution to corruption to buying the politicians. There are 15 core values that the organization has produced, and if you haven't gotten your hands on those, over by the red tents, you got to get your hands on those because they're very clear. Everyone here has a different purpose of which one of those they align with, or all of them.
Society basically breaks down into corporations, politicians, and then everybody else, basically.
I don't know if I see it that way, but I see many people who do. I think that there's people who feel powerless next to corporations, and certainly next to politicians who are bought by corporations. So it's hard to feel powerful in this kind of society.
Well, this society is everyone's kind of much for themselves, and no one really gets together like this. I've never seen so many people passionate about one thing, and I hope it leads to something else. Now,
well, this is what's happening across the country. What happened in Wall Street and all the other occupations that's happening is that there's a building ground. People are looking for an excuse to come together and say, we want to be one. We want to be a country that shares and cares about each other. And we talk about it all the time. You hear people say, if my neighbor's sick, we sure give him food. But when we talk about when my neighbor's sick in the hospital, we don't want to give him health care. So it's a contradiction on so many different terms.
We're raised that way, though. Our society endorses greed, praises it. All our idols and icons are the biggest shark in the tank. They're not the considerate people. They're not, the Mother Teresa's and Dalai Lamas.
But everybody in their soul knows right and wrong. You know it. Everybody on the planet knows it. So when people chase after that dollar, which is the main problem, we start to warp that sense of right and wrong. And you see it in politicians when they fight for things that you know they cannot believe in. That you know they can't see as right.
They're protecting themselves.
They're protecting themselves. They're protecting their checks. They're protecting their jobs.
And they're not thinking about the collective at all.
Not at all. And this is what this is.
They vote them in office now.
Agreed. And that's why this is happening. Because we've gotten to a point where our politicians are so corrupt that the collective no longer has a voice. The voice comes from the corporations with the big checks. And that Citizens United ruling is an abomination to the way that we do democracy. And to have a Supreme Court justify that is an embarrassment to all of us.
So why does this gathering together, being one, and this idea, why do we expect that to make a difference?
We have nothing else. What else is there?
Nothing else but
we have got to get together. We have got to show everybody that this is wrong. And when you got nothing to lose, talk to half of these people on this plaza, including me. I have nothing left to lose.
You have to show people what's wrong, that is wrong, but you also have to show them what's right. I think right here, you guys are setting a great example.
Yes.
All this out here, this is what's right.
This is community.
Now, it's not just happening. I went on the internet this morning to look up what was going on here today, and a weird thing struck me. Why all of a sudden, Greece, the UK, Spain, Egypt, Israel, all of a sudden, within the last month, everyone's up in arms. Why do you think the blankets hit the fan all of a sudden and people are fed up?
There's a tipping point happening. So we saw it in the Arab countries. We saw it throughout Europe. We see it happening right now here in America. All the occupations throughout the country. This is a tipping point. We are the start of something, and this is where we start to move the balance of power. All of these collective people, they understand that this is the only way we're going to gather power. This is the only way we're going to exert power, is being a collective. And so if we have to come together and sometimes be civilly disobedient, we need to do that. We're doing it non-violently, peacefully, but we're here to say enough is enough.
Enough is enough. It's time to get together and oust this monopoly and this oligarchy type mindset.
The oligarchy. Reagan is the father of our present oligarchy. The policies that started back then continued through Republican, Democrats, all of them have continued these policies that have created this oligarchy state. It's embarrassing. And we all know it's wrong. We all watch it happen, and now people are fed up.
A lot of people aren't fed up though. They're watching this and they're going, look at those hippies. Look at it. They probably don't work. They're probably just a bunch of losers. They're bohemians. Why does what's going on now affect everybody and not just the people gathered here?
I would say turn off Fox News because it's not helping you, and come down and see what's going on and talk to some real Americans with some real information. Gathering news from more than one source makes you an educated person, and that's when I struggle with the faux news people who claim news as opinion, and people take that as fact. Repetition does not create fact, and I don't believe anything. Don't believe me. Take me for my word and my opinion, but find out if I'm saying what's right. Buddha said it. He said, "Don't believe anything anybody says, especially me."
That's a good attitude. What happens, say, they overturn Citizens United, okay? Say that happens. Do we all pack our bags and go home?
That's the start. That's the start. That's the start of turning the power back to the people. So when you call a corporation a person and give them rights, and then not tax them like every other person, it's unacceptable. But when you give them rights in the beginning, that's where you get people just confused about their place in the world.
You know what's going to happen, or what could possibly happen is, say this makes a real big stir. The politicians decide to throw us a bone. They have organizations and groups that set to work how to undo what they did. They will set to work on how to undo and find a back way to continue the greed, continue the self-profit. Is there something counter being developed here against that? Does the unity have to persist, or is it just something temporary?
You're watching it now. So Wall Street, what happened down there, they said it's going to happen in a few days. What they said here is going to happen in a few days. We're not leaving. We're not ending the occupation until we're satisfied. From Wall Street, from across the country, and certainly not from Freedom Plaza.
Sounds like everyone needs to get educated, get united, and be about change.
Get your news from more than one source and read as many books as you can.
Fantastic. Hey man, that was sweet.
I'm glad.